I'm really bad with answering questions, actually.
Yeah.
So usually when people ask me questions, they put out, the question might inspire something that I want to talk about,
Okay.
but I usually just don't even answer questions.
So I wanted to start this interview with Donda, and actually specifically January 2012, you kind of formally announced it. And I want to talk about this idea of like a design company that's really thinking about the world. Could you talk about, like, to you, what does this creating this design company ultimately mean? Like, what's your dream?
In some ways, it's already happening with the people who I've worked with, and the mental push-ups that people go through, and then what they take and take to other creative places that they go. So I hate when someone comes and works with me for like a couple weeks or something, or 2 months, and then they can try to tell people that they've worked with Kanye West, because you haven't worked with Kanye West unless you've worked with me for like 6 months to a year or 2 years and really been through having to redo a project like 100 times, or really word something in a specifically perfect way, or to communicate it at the exact, that's ironic because that was not communicated good at all. So there's been a lot of people who have worked with me that are already starting to fill in the blanks of the chart, and people, they come, they go away, they work here for a bit, they work on other projects. We argue, we deal with our positions and our voice in society, that we're all like these fighting artists, all with a common goal of wanting to affect the world for positive change, which is like this really politically correct way to say save the world, but you don't want to, unless you're a optimist, utopianist, if you're just dealing with the now and that, trying to, if you don't have the vision to see where we can go, there's no way you'd believe in the possibility of a utopia. So when you just say that word sounds almost like a bad word to people, or something that, or something that people can like just use to make fun of you or make you look like stupid or overly optimistic, or
Yeah. And what's your utopia? I mean, what's like your...
I think in the future, it's funny that we're talking about this, but I don't think people are going to talk. They're just going to literally communicate through eye contact, body language, emojis, like do whatever without having to use words. The words, it's funny because I've like made a living off of words, and words really get in the way of what you really want to say.
And what is it that you think you want to say, or how would you say it without words? And sign language, or what would be your preferred platform?
Yeah, sign language, eye contact with you, whatever, just something like that. Or just like, thank God for emojis. Like, it's so often that it's like, just like this sign right here just goes a long way and like lets me get on with my day. Because you don't want to be like, you don't want to be a jerk, but there's certain people that are genius. They're like, their emotional social IQ is like super high, and they can get stuff done, and that's just like an amazing combination. Because often it's like people who get really amazing stuff done have to cut off their emotional IQ and this and that. And so I can't stand this thing like with agents, the whole "how was your day" thing. And it's like, you don't care about my day. Why are you asking me about my day? Did we get done what we're supposed to get done? But it's different. Like, I do want to know how my daughter's day was. I do want to get an explanation of like what she learned in school. I actually care about that. Like, I sincerely care about that. But, you know, especially when there's people that are in business with you, it's just like, I think business has to be stupider. I tell people that like all the time, like, I just want to do like really extremely straightforward, stupid business. Just talk to me like I'm a 4-year-old. And I refuse to negotiate. I do not negotiate. I can collaborate, but you know, I'm an artist, so as soon as you negotiate, you're being compromised. And it's extremely difficult to get your point across through compromise.
Right.
So I'm just patient now. I'll wait till I'm in a situation where there's no negotiation.
How do you know when you like are, it's somebody or a group that you want to collaborate with? Like, what makes you?
Oh, the principles of a company. You know, I like the idea of companies more than the idea of brands. I think people get too caught up in the concept of a brand because there's something about this constant like self-promotion in a brand. You know, as I'm sitting here and it's me, I'm Kanye West, and I have Adidas, and I have this right here, and that, and I'm like selling these brands. But the ultimate goal is to be like water, to be able to create in an invisible way, to be something where you can add some form of information or just some information that can help people along their path. Oh. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned, you know, that you view yourself as an artist, and I'm curious how far you see.
I didn't mention that I view myself that way.
You are an artist.
I am,
Yeah.
and never worded like that. It's extremely offensive.
How do you?
No, why did you say I view myself like that? Do you not view me like that?
I totally view you as an
Okay,
artist.
cool.
Yeah. No, I was asking more like how far you see it, how far you see it extended. Like, what to you, you know, is art, and where do you see it extended?
I don't understand the question.
How far does it go? Like, is it?
What's the it?
Art. Like
art itself?
What do you view as? Yeah. What is your sort of definition, personal definition of art?
I think that would have a George Costanza moment if I was to answer it right now, and I want to come back in 3 days and be like, I got the answer of my personal definition of art.
I do have one.
And sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable by
okay.
saying that what you said was offensive, but it was. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was a tweet. You did tweet once the definition of art, or at least my personal definition is to be able to see the truth and then express it, which I thought was like, that's what I love about your Twitter or your tweets, because you're talking about being sustained, being minimal.
That's the answer I wanted. Thank you.
And you're able to take it into something, you know. Actually, like, speaking of your Twitter, I went through a bunch of things that you've been saying and just been thinking about how that relates to your universe. And you're in fashion. You're an artist. You're also an incredible musician. So I'm wondering, like, how do you think about all these things all the time? Like, is there ever a moment, do you have to compartmentalize it? Or is it just like all in you? How do you focus?
It's all one. It's like your hands. It's like fingers, like a piano player. It's like the keys to life. It's just playing a chord. And people, they can't wrap their head around why a wrong note drives me crazy, but I'm trying to hear a beautiful chord. So people say, well, you got this, you got this, you got that. Why are you so mad about that? Well, that's a piece of the chord. I'm trying to play a chord, like two hands, you know, and then eventually a symphony. So, did I answer clearly? Maybe I can answer it in a different way.
And you know, I was thinking also about just this idea of, you know, how you believe the world can be changed through design, And that was something you said when you were at Harvard and gave that impromptu speech there. And I'm wondering to you, what is design in your mind, and why is design so powerful? Like, why do you think design can change the world?
Did I already answer this before, and you're not letting me know? Like
No, for real, for real.
You know, actually, you had a better answer than the one you just said.
But it does connect a little bit to what you're talking about with brands and companies, and obviously, like your association with Adidas and what you do with the fashion company. That's design, but
yeah, okay. I think companies that are brands can collectively come together for a single mission at a time to change the world. That's exactly how it can happen. Like major conglomerates to, I don't want to pinpoint, but there's people who are, you know, there's a collective that can figure out the killings in Chicago, can figure out solutions. Might be people that are focused on prosthetic arms, or focused on cancer, or focused on some type of movie script or something, or focused on some new form of tech that actually could figure out the killings in Chicago, if that was their goal. And this is just sparked by what you're saying. I'm thinking out loud.
yeah.
And people only have so much power in their positions on their own. So if it's someone that's like on the education board, and then it's someone that's in law enforcement, like someone really powerful, or a group of people, and like, I don't want to say an idea that's so like 7 years or 17 years from now that it has to get like fucking ridiculed for 16 years. So I'm trying to figure out how to word it in a way that people can understand it in the now. There's a lack of people in power that are motivated by the idea of helping people currently. But thanks to the internet, there are people who would have never made it through a corporate system that were able to jump and be to positions of power in their 20s, that now can collectively work on ideas for the new world. I think I worded that in a 2016 like way.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense.
I didn't want to speak in like a
No, and I
didn't want to speak from 2030.
No, I think it's like you're seeing like some of the people who run the world today are in their 20s, and you know.
And those are the people who can make the change, and who will. Right? I mean, it's not can, it's will. You have to will things into fruition, and I think that as you know, our time, our 100 years on Earth, you know, our civilization, I think that we can get to a place where, because I just think that when you say like way overly optimistic things, it just gets attacked. So I word it, I don't want to digress to like why it gets attacked, but I want to just word it in a way that somehow puts the idea out there without people beating me up for saying my idea out loud or something. So I think, well, more people need to know that they're not fucking cool. What makes you feel cool? And that's like the dream of everyone. They want to be cool because of this, cool because of their association, cool because of that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you could take an artist that has all of this information, and I'm not speaking about me, I'm just speaking like, you know, just like, in today's world, having money have allowed people who are like extremely uncool to think that they're cool and carry it like that. And people who really are cool and people who really are artists and have ideas have to literally turn in their cool card to society just to make it past the age of like 28. It's either die at 28 or turn in your cool pass. And I would love to, that's the way I word things in a like a, where it's not like a bomb about to set off, like a nuclear bomb. I would love to be a part of creating a world that allows the artist to think and create on the highest form and be respected for their ability to see the world through the anamorphic lens of an artist. You get these, and that's like the founders of companies, you know? The founders before you get to the CEOs that have to answer to like the stock and the board and all that type of stuff. And then the founders are just like off on the island. But the thing about the founders, like if you take like a living founder like Phil Knight, you know, the island isn't the final frontier. And we're gonna play this back. I'm gonna be like on a fucking island, like at 50 playing this back, like, yo, I thought you said the island wasn't the final frontier. But, I don't know, if you have the ability to create something like Nike, I understand, and who am I to say, I'm sure it's like the hardest thing I just know what I'm going through, how hard it's the hardest thing to do, but I seek out artist merchants like that actually have the ability to be in a position financially and in a position through education and cool to really affect the world for positive change. Because you could have people that are completely in charge of money and in charge of opportunity that wouldn't even be able to pick who really can make a difference. They don't even have the ability to pick who's really talented enough to make the world more beautiful. And I'm gonna change that.
Do you think that was something you were born with, like something innately, like the taste, the ability to see these people, find them out?
Yeah, and taste is like just a really, I've been struggling with that word recently because who's to say, I mean, you probably would have finished my sentence and say, who's to say what's tasteful, but I would say, who's to say even having taste is good? Who's to say having good taste is a good thing? Some people say everyone was born an artist, and society, their parents, they beat it out of them. You know, there's times, there was someone after I said I was going to run for president that showed me like a videotape of somebody making fun of me about that concept, and I was thinking like, wow, if this person was doing this from my age of 3. I would have never been me. And, you know, people say geniuses are kids with good parents. So, how do you nurture the things that people would call weird and to something that could be considered to be, to something that would be exceptional? Like, so many movies are based on this anti-hero that's up against all odds doing the exceptional. Like, you know, maybe this would be an eloquent interview. You know, it's like a 50-50 chance every time I open my mouth. But at the end of the day, like I said, words get in the way. And regardless of if people understand this or not, you know it's Rain Man sitting here. You just fucking know it's Rain Man. So, let's go back and look at that movie. No matter what Rain Man's doing, you know if you take him to that fucking table, he's gonna pick the right cards.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on education and the sort of thinking that you've been talking about as it relates to education and the importance of how education kind of falls into this conversation.
Education is in every conversation. Yeah. Couldn't have a conversation without it. I mean, both of my parents are educators. I think that knowledge is power. And it's not just about the information that is held in books. It's about codes that are held in cultures. Bah, 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 bah.
Codes meaning?
Meaning any creative idea that relates to an industry, there are codes in the management to get from A to Z. A lot of times I feel like Wolverine. Like you say sticks and stones can break your bones, but words never hurt you. I mean, look at Trump. I guess words can't hurt you. I mean, people across the world like just lack opportunities, period. And the few people that do get into a place of having an opportunity, I'm not gonna say that they have, Phil Knight, I wanna come to your island, I wanna chill, you know? So I'm not saying you have to come back and help us save the world and shit, but it's, I feel a responsibility because my parents are activists and they were in the world-changing business, to take any position, anything that I gain, any extra goodwill or good skills that I take along my like video game, Legendary Zelda role-playing, you know, path in life, because it's like a RPG. This person is giving you more information. It's like how I met Axel Vavort, right? Mm-hmm. It came from, and you don't have to explain who people are because they have this thing called Google, you know. Yeah. So I met Axel Vavort through Willow. 8 times separated, of a piece of information that led me to another piece of information, that led me to another piece, that led me to another piece, that led me to another piece, that led me to Maastricht, and I might say it wrong, I think it's where they had the furniture fair. Yeah. So Willow says, man, I really like this guy's blog, Justin Saunders, Jound, JJJJOUND. It's just like the way he mixes these, you know, things from the 90s, and he's got like, a naked girl there, they have like a good shoe, they have like a bad shoe, and it's like just a good, I'm into his perspective on art. Now Jound's been doing it for 10 years, or we call him Jound or Justin, and we started saying, to this day we say, is that Jound approved? So I reached out to Justin and explained, you know, my background in wanting the certain elements of my background that you might not have been able to see from just the albums I was doing or the videos I was doing or like the red leather jackets I was wearing. or or the chains I was wearing, or the furs, or the minks, or the big booty house. Yeah, sometimes that could be distracting to conversations like this. So, just creating memes every step of the way.
It does remind me kind of.
Hold on 1 second. You're gonna break my thought. Save that one. So, I hired Justin. I explained all this stuff, and we built a relationship. We'd always bounce ideas, and he'd send me, references. And so, I was staying at this apartment in Paris, and Justin was out there, and we were working on some ideas. And I was like, this apartment is like whack. What can I do? He's like, my favorite architect is Joseph Duran. So then I reach out to Joseph Duran, and Joseph Duran comes by, and he gives some ideas. And he says, you got to cover up this nasty bookshelf over here, and you got to cover up this glass banister. And I went and plastered over it was just a hotel I was staying at. I plastered over the bookshelf and the banister in the hotel. Plaster, like people go in, nail it in, plaster, and that curtain plastered over, and it's like that to this day. Boss stage 1 annihilated. Now stage 2, Vogue. Stage 3, art.
Yeah.
Stage 4, and it's all these stages where it's really important, because the funny thing about an editor completely trying to annihilate my credibility because we didn't have water and the show started late. And I care about people's time, so it wasn't on purpose. But the fact that they felt they could outright LeBron James, went to the Heat level, burn my jersey after all that I contributed to art, fashion, and culture just in 2016 alone, and they want to burn my jersey on their tweets. I want to make $10 t-shirts, $15 t-shirts that a 35-year-old mom could go in and say, if I could have the perfect form of a grocery store of apparel, this would be it. So I could dress my 12-year-old that wants to get fresh, like whoever we can name, ASAP Crew or Thug or Ye or, they don't realize how damaging and hurtful that burning of my cultural jersey is to the cosign, which is different than most fast fashion. I won't name brands, but to the cosign of what it means for me to be an artist and say, I'm going to take my art and my obsessing over 1,000 different types of t-shirts to figure out how to partner with the Gap and land it at the right cost that 35-year-old mom can get a fully co-signed wardrobe with Kanye and his Donda design team. They don't understand the bigger picture. I wanted to put that out there because maybe they'd sit and listen and look at it. I want to talk about the idea of me saying these things in the color that I'm in currently.
Meaning?
Skin color. And I'm not saying currently like I'm going to change skin colors. When I mean currently, I mean 10 years from now, to be black will be a completely different thing because of what we're doing now. And
through culture.
What?
Through culture.
Through culture and business. and interracial dating. Because of what we did at Donda collectively, 20 years from now, people are gonna be like, oh, we need a black guy to, creative direct something. It was there's just been very few directors, period, that were black. And so often Spike Lee used to say that they would ticket swap, and they did. Ticket swapping is no different than an album that you never heard beating an album that is really big, or a video that a small sect of people seeing beating a video that's a cultural phenomenon. That's like ticket swapping for an agenda of manufactured money making off of mediocrity. And that gig is up. People are like, the internet will kill you. What I'm saying? They're like, dial right in. This is whack. This is that. There is still something like crowd perception, but it's not like you could never make another Backstreet Boys. You can't even make famous people anymore. There hasn't been a new famous person in 7 years. The very thing that has propelled these gargantuan influencers is the same thing that will, block it from there ever being, as famous a single person as there's been up to this point. It's like multi-icons, and people are their own stars. And when I'm under the gas at the dentist's office, sometimes I think, one day all people. So all the things that were only afforded to rich, the Hermes color palette, Helmut Lang, Margiela, those things, like when I go to like Sterling Ruby's studio, like I want my daughter to come back, and this, that, and that. Is like I'm just so taken back and inspired. And that inspiration needs to be taken out of the box of luxury and given to all people. If people are working from a place of inspiration and opportunity, the world would be better. People would be happier.
Do you see yourself as that bridge? Someone who's helping bring that,
I think so, and if I'm not, I'm going to, nope, I'm not even gonna put it if I'm not, because I remember Pac, used to talk about me. He didn't know me, but he's talking about me. And people, right when I say that, insert clip here. Everyone knows the exact quote, that I'm referring to, if you've seen those Pac interviews. You can just insert clip there. Because I don't want to miss out. I don't want to be dead when the world starts getting good. I want to see it. Yeah. So I'm not going to put out anything like, man, but I'm going to inspire yeah, that too, but I'm going to be here too. I'm being part of it too. Yay, here too. Only thing that's good about a project being finished is it can give you, possibly, if people like it, the opportunity to work on more projects. It's this artist I was working with, right? And then I'm on the plane sitting next to him. Sometimes don't sit next to people on the plane that you work with. You might find out too much. And they were like looking through their Instagram, and they looked at like this one like kind of art fashion site, and they were pulling references. I was like, you pull from that? I caught you. I thought you were only pulling from the essence of your life when you were a 14-year-old girl. You was on Instagram pulling references. I think that's it. I think you got the best Kanye interview to date. So.